Good morning, Flosstube. I'm Misty. Welcome to episode 2 of my Flosstube videos. It's Saturday, January 20th, and it's a beautiful sunny day in Pennsylvania, which is unusual for winter. Thank you so much for all of the nice comments people left on my video, all the encouragement, and I just really appreciate you taking the time to watch and to let me know that you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for that, and a number of people commented on Instagram as well, and I just really appreciated that. Had a couple of shout outs that I received, so thank you so much to Helen D from East Coast Crafter. I love her videos and she seems super cool. We would probably be friends, I think, if we lived closer to each other. So I really appreciated her shouting me out, and she has a really good grasp on my current whips list. She remembered them really well. I'm not sure I would even remember them that well, so good job. Also, thank you to Cathy of Crafty Cat Stitcher. She shouted me out as well. I've been enjoying following her recently. I'm finding a lot of new Flosstube creators to watch, and so she was one of them, and I just really appreciate her taking the time also to shout me out. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to mention is that I changed my name kind of across social media this week. I had one name on Instagram, and my Instagram name, if you watched my first video I mentioned, was Knit and Crochet. Back in 2012, I did a lot of knit and crochet, and now in 2018, I'm doing weaving, a lot of weaving, and I've gotten back into cross stitch, and it doesn't really accurately represent the things that I do anymore, or it doesn't fully encompass them, I guess I should say. So I had another name on Ravelry and on my blog, and it's just too many names. I wanted to consolidate, or as one person said on Instagram, rebrand. So I'm rebranding myself as one name. I'm not going to change it again. This is it. So my name will be Luminous Fiber Arts, and you can find me under that name on Instagram, on Ravelry. My YouTube video channel name is going to stay Misty Purcell, but I put a banner across the top that says Luminous Fiber Arts, so you can look for me under that name. And if you follow me on Instagram, I've already changed, and you don't have to do anything differently. I've already changed the name. Okay, so there's that, and the Luminous Fiber Arts. Fiber arts, obviously, because I like all fiber arts. No fiber art left behind is my motto. So that's not entirely true, because I'm not allowed to take up spinning as much as I would like to. I'm not going to do rug hooking. I'm limited in time, money, and space, so I got to cut myself off. So most fiber arts not left behind. And the luminous, because I like color. I like light and color. So that was kind of the thinking behind changing the name. And it was something I thought about for a long time. I've been talking it over with some friends and family, and finally just committed to it. I should have done it sooner. Okay, I have had some finishes, and I'm super excited about it, because I was feeling really burdened by the end of last year by the number of projects I have that are not finished. Even though I'm not working on them, they take up mental space and physical space. I don't like it. I used to really enjoy just starting what I wanted when I wanted, and I would still enjoy that, but the end result is not enjoyable. So I'm really focusing this year on trying to finish things up as much as possible. So I have somewhere, did I hide it from myself? Yes. I was going to show you my to-do list, and everything is checked off of it. So I made a to-do list for January. Everything is done. So I was given the advice to under-promise and over-deliver to myself when I made that list, and I did. Usually I set unrealistic expectations for myself, and then I feel bad about how I couldn't get everything done that I thought I would. This time, I'm done. I'm done early. It feels fantastic. So I encourage you, when setting your goals, to do the same. Maybe lower your expectations a little, and then you can overachieve by getting everything done and start on other stuff. Okay, so the biggest deal, I think, of something I got done was a quilt. This quilt was 2 years in the making. It is called Fancy Forest, as by Elizabeth Hartman. This was something that I taught as a block of the month at my local quilt shop. So January 2016, we started the quilt, and we did one block kind of every 2 months because there were so many to make. You'd make a set and then the other set, and I would just check in with people each month to see how they were doing. Life got really busy, and I was getting kind of behind, so I couldn't keep up with making the number of blocks every month. I would just at some point make 1 or 2, and I was making 2 of this quilt. So it was a real challenge to keep up between work and that commitment that I made to do 2. 1 was for me and 1 was for the shop as a sample. But I pressed on, and in May of 2017, I finished piecing it and happily sent it off to the quilter so I could move on to other things. And so I got it back this fall, and I just didn't have time to deal with binding it. I had other priorities, but I made it a priority for January that I was going to bind Fancy Forest and cut off the backing, excess batting, and it is finished. So here is part of it. I'll post, I'll insert a picture of the whole thing in the video separately because I can't hold it up to show you the whole thing. It's huge. It would be impossible. There are some of the creatures of the Fancy Forest. The quilt uses about 40 different fabrics, 40 different fat quarters, and then the background. And mine actually probably has a few more than 40. I love choosing fabrics for quilts. I think it's so fun picking out the colors. It did take a couple of tries to get the combination right, and ours ended up being a bit more blue-green than the pattern. Ours is kind of more consistent, I think, across here as a blue-green piece, and then we have purple down here as well. So I learned some lessons along the way on making that quilt. Once again, I was reminded that I'm not really good at completing blocks of the month, as in I've never completed a block of the month except for this one because I was teaching it. Yeah. Otherwise, what else did I learn? This style of quilt, although it is super cute, is not a great style for me. I think that I prefer to work with quilts where it is more obvious when I've incorrectly oriented a piece. And with these, some of the eye pieces, it was really easy to turn something the wrong direction and not notice, even if you'd read the pattern and made one already, and then be like halfway through and realize you screwed it up and have to rip it out. And that happened repeatedly. So I didn't enjoy that aspect of it. I think I would prefer something that I don't have to struggle with that much. I want to notice pretty quickly if I've got something oriented incorrectly. What else did I learn? I guess that was it. I don't usually count the number of pieces in any quilt I make because I just figured whatever, you committed to doing this. But at some point I think I was getting a little crazy. And the owl, 50 pieces in an owl, just one. There are 8 owls and I made 2 quilts. That's a lot of pieces just for the owls. So yeah. The background fabric is awesome, but it was really stretchy. I had to use Best Press liberally and it still was a challenge. So I also kind of learned a bit more about the kinds of fabrics I do and don't enjoy working with as much. But I'm really pleased to have that done, and I have a couple other quilts that I'll be binding in February, so I'm looking forward to that. 3 quilts done in a year. Wow, it's like a record. Okay, so that was Fancy Forest. I finished stitching Welcome Winter, which I showed you last time. That design by the Drawn Thread. I can't say enough good things about it. It was a delight to stitch. It's a beautiful design. I enjoyed it. Even if I messed something up, it was still really fun to stitch. So if you're looking for a fun stitch that's not super involved, I recommend this one. If I move it in closer to the camera, I'll do that. It kind of, this is pretty accurate, the color back here. but I'll move it in closer. Okay, so I'll comment on one thing and then I'll talk about finishing it. This has some over-dyed floss or fancy floss in the piece. I was especially concerned about the red running, and I had reason for that. I was at my mom's house when I bought the floss, and I tried the vinegar and salt and hot water or lukewarm water treatment, which worked for the greens, but it did not work for the red. The red was still running after I did that. So I brought it home, and I waited to start the piece. I use this product called Retain. And that helps fix dyes. I used it on Rest and Be Thankful, which I showed you in the last video that had a couple of kind of orangish over-dyed flosses that did run, and that helped. So what I did was I unskeined the floss, put it in, I followed the directions more or less. I boiled water, put it in a tub, put in some Retain. I didn't swish it around for 20 minutes. I don't have time for that. I stuck it in, I switched it, I walked away. I came back later, I switched it, move on. Then I rinsed it, and I checked it again by putting it in hot water, and it didn't run anymore. So I figured I was probably fine. And it turned out fine. I was careful about washing it and careful about ironing it, but the red didn't run at all. So if you want to wash your needlework, if you wish to do that, and I'm not saying that you need to, I need to because I have oily hands. Sometimes my hands sweat. I feel like I need to wash my needlework, but I don't really care if you wash your needlework. You do whatever you need to do. But if you wish to wash your needlework and you use over-dyed floss, you could try Retain. I did use rubber gloves when I used it to be careful. If you are reluctant to use any kind of chemical, that's fine. Don't use it. I'm not saying you need to. I don't work for Retain. I don't care. Do what you want to do. If you want to use it, I would check and just put it back in the warm water after you've rinsed it to make sure it has in fact stopped bleeding. And I would still be careful about using the iron on it, maybe turning the setting down a little bit, or just being, just be cautious, just be smart about it. And I've had good luck the last two pieces, so that's an option if you want to try that. Finishing winter welcome. Welcome winter. I think I'm going to not rush into finishing it into a fully finished object, which kind of goes against my plan to finish all the things this year, but I think that's fine because I really love it. I want to finish it in a way that makes me really happy. So if I don't get it on display this winter, that's okay. I'd like to stitch the other welcomes in the series. The 4 seasons, I think there's also a Christmas and a Halloween, and I love Halloween. So what I may end up doing is just stitching all of them and then decide how to finish them. I'm thinking of 3 different possible scenarios. Maybe a narrow tray, a narrow serving tray that I could mount it on and change them out, or a narrow shingle. Both of them would have to be somewhat short so it doesn't look weird. And then the other option I thought of was maybe getting a custom frame, but a custom frame that's actually larger than the piece, and then I could change out the pieces and try to pick something kind of neutral. I haven't found anything yet. I started looking, and I don't have a lot of time to search right now with classes in session, but over the course of the spring, I'll keep looking around and see what I find, and in a year anyway, it'll be probably done. Okay. There are buttons that go on that piece. I haven't added them yet, just in case I need to repress the piece and I don't want the buttons in the way. There's buttons for the snowman on his body and then on his hat. So I'll add those later. And as a reminder, I use 32 count Zweigart Belfast linen, and it's antique ivory. Okay, so more stitchy finishes. Okay, I do now know that this is not a swan. Thank you for people who corrected me. I was convinced for a long time that that was, but clearly when I looked at the chart, that's the swan. This is the goose. Thank you. Okay, so I worked on number 4. 4 calling birds, or I think they're also sometimes called collie birds. Again, this is mystery linen. I don't know what it is. They didn't tell me. But the birds are really cute and chubby. I like them. This was pretty fast to stitch. Okay, so this is supposed to have confetti snowflakes on it. And I have to tell you that between stitching the Prairie Schooler Christmas Eve and Welcome Winter, I am just over snowflakes right now. I can't do any more, especially confetti ones. So this is not getting confetti snowflakes. I checked all the ones that I've done so far and none of them have them. And I'm just going to be consistent and not do them. Problem solved. Those are just DMC flosses. I used all the call for DMC. It was a pretty quick stitch, which I appreciated. Okay, last FOs. A lot of you were interested in my weaving. I'm happy to report that I finished my weaving projects. So, I made 2 of these Christmas tree towels. These are from hand woven November, December 2009, I think. They're called holiday towels. And this is Rose Path. This is a Rose Path border, and then the rest is plain weave. So yeah, they're nice, drapey, soft, squishy. I love them. These are mine. Often I get the rejects, the ones that aren't good enough to give to other people, but these I prioritized for me. So I'm looking forward to using them. So I did 2 with the trees, and the trees are just super cute. And then on the same warp, I did a couple other Rose Path designs. I did this one, little flowers. This is going to be a gift for my mom for Mother's Day. So it's supposed to be Selfish Weaving Month, or Selfish Crafting Month, but whatever. She marked this one as one she likes, so I'll make it for her. Okay, so that's the flowers. Mystery flower, I don't know what these are. And then tulips. I know, tulips aren't blue. I don't care. I made blue tulips. They're my towels. I can make them blue if I want. So, I really, the trees and the tulips are actually my favorite out of the set that I made. And I just love, you know, how soft and squishy and drapey they are. I'm looking forward to putting these out. So I couldn't use any of these towels until I made this video. Now I can finally use them. I do go through a little process of testing things out. It's called sampling. It's kind of like swatching if you're a crocheter or a knitter. You're testing for things like spacing, gauge if you knit or crochet. And, you know, with weaving it's called set, basically. How closely or far apart do you want to set your threads to get the look that you want? So I had been sampling the trees on a different warp just to see, and also just to test out weaving them. Sometimes changing colors is necessary, and that's what I discovered with this. I thought for sure red flowers would be awesome, but when I wove them, I just couldn't get excited about them. And then I did this blue and yellow, and it kind of looks like the Swedish flag, which is cool, but not what I was going for. I also, by weaving this, realized that I needed to cut one repeat of the center of the flower out, and it looked better. So, sampling, just a way to kind of figure out what you need to do differently, perhaps, to weave the project. So, up next for me on weaving, I need to keep weaving. I'm in the Jane Stafford online guild, Jane Stafford Textiles online guild, and she's doing a year of color and design. I want to participate in that. The first class doesn't start until February 8th, I think. I'll probably try to get a warp wound this weekend if I can swing it and do one project before that starts. And the only kind of downside I see to this is that we're putting long warps on the loom, and I really just need to practice putting the warps on the loom and weaving. And I'm afraid that at some point I'll just be kind of stuck waiting around, which is that whole kind of stitch along, weave along, quilt along problem I have. So we'll see. We'll see how I do. If worst comes to worst, I'll just keep watching the videos and do my own thing, which I really like doing my own thing, which is why I don't do well with any kind of along or of the month, because I just want to do my own thing. Okay. Oh, the florals come from Strickler, the 8-shaft pattern book. If you're interested in more details on the materials I use, threading, etc., that's on my Ravelry project page. I can put a link in the video, below the video. Okay, so those are my FOs. I had 4. I completed everything on my to finish list. Feeling really good about this. Whips. I started another tiny knit. Doesn't look like much right now. It's a ski sweater. And I have the body done. And I have one tiny sleeve. So I'll knit the other sleeve and then join and then knit around, and then I'll do a red one. There's one other sweater to knit, which is a polar bear sweater, and then I'll probably do that and then catch up with the other projects. But I'm just kind of slowly going to work along on this. I'm not in a hurry. I would like to have it done, but I'm just not going to worry about it too much. Just slowly get it done. My second whip that I'll show is called Fill Your Heart, and it's from All Through the Night, Bonnie Sullivan. She does some really cute wool applique projects. I like her stuff a lot, and also Stacy of Buttermilk Basin. I like primitive, but I usually like a little bit brighter than primitive, and this is a little bit of a brighter project already, so that attracted me to it. I like the heart. It's like, I thought it'd be good for Valentine's Day, and then I'll teach a wool applique class in the summer at my local quilt shop. So this, I just finished fusing this morning, but I haven't stitched anything in place. And in the pattern, she gives you the option. This is 16 by 20 frame, but she says you can do an 8 by 10 frame. So I'm doing the 8 by 10 just because I think it's easier for me to display, and then I'll either frame it or I might finish it into a quilted wall hanging, but you know, I wouldn't do a lot of quilting on it. I wanted to say something else about that, but it's not coming to me. Oh, so she says in the pattern, I've reversed the design for you because you're going to be fusing these, blah, blah, blah. And then I didn't think about the fact that, oh, if I do the 8 by 10 size, which is actually like the template layout, that's not reversed. So I didn't think about reversing it. So mine's actually oriented the opposite, but yeah, who cares? Okay, so it's looking pretty cute. I changed my birds to blue because I think I've seen her do something else with blue birds, and they were really, really nice. I wanted, like I said, bright colors. The fabric, though. This fabric is awesome. I don't know if you can see the gold tone. This is a shot cotton, so it's woven with one color one way, and then the other way. So warp is one color, weft is the other color. Super cool. It gives it a nice glow. So all that remains then is to do a lot of stitching. I have a lot of embroidery to do. And I think I want to change the saying, fill your heart. If I can't come up with anything else, that's fine. But I kind of like something a little bit more meaningful to me, or I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. I'll think about it. Might be trying too hard here to make it meaningful. Okay, the last whip, it was suggested that perhaps I might find a more interesting backdrop for my video. And so I repositioned myself in front of Halo. Halo is one of my quilting whips that I'm actually working on. So it's a true work in progress as opposed to something sitting in the closet not seeing me. I started this a little bit after I finished Fancy Forest, so sometime in the summer of 2017. And I'm letting this be a slow work in progress. It just frankly is, and I'm just going with it. Each block has probably, I think, 11-ish pieces, and I'm cutting them out with templates, and as you can see, each one has a different fabric in every place. So that's part of the process of selecting, you know, the light, the dark, the medium, trying to get some contrast. And I'm mostly going for contrast, but I'm allowing it to blend a bit. For this quilt, I wanted something that I wanted to snuggle under and that would feel very cozy. So I actually toned down the colors compared to some of the other quilts I've made that are brighter. I went with more grade fabrics, things that looked soft. I've mostly kept red out of this quilt, though I like red. It doesn't feel soft to me, so there's no red really in the quilt. Or if there is, it's grade red. Piecing this on the machine, I find that try as I might, my blocks are coming out smaller than what they're supposed to. At least they're all coming out smaller. People who are piecing it by hand on Instagram seem to be getting very nice sized blocks. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, so I have plans to make this quilt a bed quilt, and it's going to be 8 blocks across by 9 blocks long, and then there's a border around the outside. So the pattern is 36 blocks plus a border, so I'm basically doubling it, and so it's taking some time. Basically how I assemble this quilt is I kind of lay some fabrics out that I think will work together, or sometimes I'll just cut the middle piece and I kind of build around it. It can take me sometimes an hour just to pick out things or longer. I pick things out, I stick it on the wall in the spot I want it to go, and I decide if it looks like it works there and if I have to switch anything. So that can be either really fast or really slow, and it just depends on the day. And sometimes I can figure out what's wrong and fix it right away, and sometimes not. So I'm just going with that, and it's fine. I would like to have this quilt finished by the end of 2018 as far as the top. And then I think I want to hand quilt it, and I don't really hand quilt, but it's going to be big. I won't do this size quilt on my machine. It would look cool hand quilted, maybe with pearl cotton and do a big stitch quilt. We'll see. I will definitely try that, and then if it fails to work, I will reconsider. So I saw that the Joan and Kelly show, that Kelly is issuing a quilt off in February. So Kelly, I will be there. I won't finish my quilt for sure, but if I could get a few blocks done on Saturday, that would be awesome. You can check that out on their video. But the quilt off is, I think the idea is just to kind of get a quilt moving along, and that's what I'm trying to do. So the book for this, this is called Jenny from One Block. The idea being that all of the quilts are just one block quilts. It's not like Fancy Forest where you've got a variety of different blocks. And then you can see what Jen Kingwell's quilt looks like. Jen Kingwell is an Australian designer. I like a lot of what the Australians are doing in their quilts. I like Jen Kingwell. I like the slight feeling of chaos of the quilt, but it's not completely chaotic. It's not like I look at one of her quilts and think, I don't know where to look, and, you know, my brain is fried or something. So it's like organized chaos. That's what I'm going for, and that's what I like about her quilts. I think they're very interesting. This is kind of an I Spy quilt. There's a little bear right there, and then he's right there too. Fish. More bears right there. So yeah, anyway, it's fun. I have a lot of cute fabrics. People are surprised by how many I have. I do like to collect fabric. Okay, guess that's it. See you in a couple weeks, probably. And thanks again for watching. Thanks for your kind words. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll keep trying to finish stuff up. See you soon. Thanks.